Hi everyone, welcome back. In this video, I am going to be showing you how to put a pocket in the seam of a garment. It's called an inseam pocket. I'll pretty much just be doing a sample. Now what you see here is one that I did, and I recorded video on it about 3 weeks before the video I'm currently making, and I lost the footage. It was deleted by mistake, so I am going to be making another one to show you how to do this. This time around, I'm going to be using this pink fabric. What I've done is just cut 2 pieces of fabric in the shape of a rectangle. And this will be the pieces that will mimic kind of like the seam of a skirt or a dress or something like that. And right here I have my pocket pieces. And I just drafted this pattern from a garment that I already have. I just traced the pocket and added seams to it. I've had this for a while. You can see it's all wrinkly and ripped in places and got stains on it, etc. But it works just fine. Right here I have the 2 pocket pieces, and my fabric does not have a right or wrong side. Yours might. So I'm basically just going to be turning them in the position, putting them in the position necessary so that I can end up with the pieces attaching to each other correctly. Now on here, I'm going to go down about 5/8 of an inch from the top of the fabric. Sometimes I'll go down more. Usually I'll go down more, maybe like 2 inches. You can decide what works best for you in terms of like the placement of the pocket and where the hand is going to go into. One thing I can recommend is maybe just kind of looking at garments that you already have and measuring how far down from the waist of a garment, how far down the pocket has been inserted, and just kind of measure that and use that. But I'm just going to be doing 5/8 right here, and I'll just put the pocket onto the fabric with right sides together, again pretending that mine has a right and wrong side, and I'm just going to be stitching right down 5/8 of an inch from where I put the pocket on. And I'll be doing this to both pieces, both pieces of fabric and pockets. All right, so now that that is done, I'm gonna go back and stitch on the top of this seam. Well, the seam underneath needs to be pressed to toward the pocket. I'm just going to sew a row of stitching down on top of the pocket, and that is going to help the pocket stay inside when the garment is being worn so it doesn't keep coming out. Stitching down the seam on top of the pocket just helps it stay in place. So that's what I'm doing here. I used black thread here so that it would contrast pretty well with the pink fabric. So hopefully you can see it. And right here, I've stitched the pocket down on top for both pieces. The next step is to put these together with right sides facing each other. I am just going to line up the pieces, the rectangular piece of fabric as well as the curved pocket, and then I'll be sewing these together. I'm not using pins in this video, but they are very helpful when sewing these pieces together. So if you need to use pins, go ahead and do that. It can be tricky to sew curves. The pockets want to move and shift around, so pinning them can help. Now what I'm doing here is using a white crayon to mark where I am going to pivot. And I'm showing you with my finger the path along which I'll be sewing. So down from the top, pivot around the curve, pivot again, and down to the end of the fabric. Okay, and here you can see me doing the sewing where I sewed down. I put my needle down, lifted the presser foot, turned the fabric, put the presser foot back down, sewed around the curve, and then when I get to my next mark that I made with a white crayon, I'll leave the needle down, raise the presser foot, pivot the fabric, presser foot down, and sew off the edge of the fabric. Now right here, I'm getting to my other pivot point at the bottom. What I'm gonna do is turn the needle with the hand wheel, leave the needle down, lift the presser foot, pivot, and then put the presser foot back down and continue sewing to the edge of my fabric of the rectangular pieces. So that's just a pivot, sewing down, pivoting, going around, pivoting again, and going down. Okay, so my pieces have been sewn together, and you can see the black thread here showing where the seams are. And although I don't go on to finish these edges, you can serge the seams to make it neater and prevent it from fraying, and you can also do a zigzag stitch. So yeah, here's the pocket. It's pretty simple. You know, it could take practice to sew the curves, and just lining everything up correctly is also important. And here's the pocket. So if you have a pattern for a dress or a skirt or even a blouse or pants or shorts or whatever you have, that's just a basic demonstration of how to sew the pocket on there, if you don't have instructions on how to do that already. These are, this is kind of an adult size pocket since it did come from one of my garments. You know, if you're making it for a child, you can just use one of their garments and trace the pocket. Okay, so I decided to go ahead and put the two pieces together and make a little skirt. My daughter was asking for a skirt, so I put the two pieces, the brown and pink, together and then added some more pieces and made her this little skirt with the pockets. And I did end up adjusting the side seam so the pocket opening wouldn't be so wide for her little hands. And to do that, I started at the original seam where I sewed the two pieces of fabric together initially and went up about 2 inches. And that decreased how wide the opening of the pocket was. And right here you can see this is like the area that I closed up. It's about 2 inches. It's the final outcome and her little action pose here. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks so much for watching.